Defense Secretary Peter Brookes on all of this. Peter, let's say they release the pastor. There are a number of other issues that were roiling Turkey long before the dust-up over his capture, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Neil, first of all, I think we're concerned about the fact that Turkey's been playing footsie with Russia for quite some time. They're buying some air defense systems. In fact, there's concern about transferring our most advanced F-35 fighters to Turkey because it could be an advantage to Russia to understand these tremendous aircraft. There's also tensions between us and the Turks over Syria. Long-standing concerns, but especially over the Kurds. Remember, the Kurds have this the YPG, which are these Syrian Kurds that have been fighting ISIS to help us and others to rid Syria of them. But at the same time, the Turks look at the Kurds as a problem inside of Turkey. Remember, there is a PKK terrorist group that operates in Turkey, and Turkey insists that the YPG and the PKK are related. So there's a lot of issues here. Of course, the tariffs, the steel tariffs and aluminum tariffs went on before this situation really came to this point. But recently, the administration raised those tariffs, probably because of the decrease in the value of the lira, which has dropped about 40% since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and even with the pop back at about 5 or 6% today, to your point, it's still down an awful lot, almost cut in half in that period of time. Having said that, I'm wondering what could turn this around. And the reason why I asked, forget what you think about President Erdogan and Turkey itself, it does have reverberating effects. A number of European countries, Italy, China's been affected as well because of their exposure to this. Certainly the administration must recognize, whatever its personal feelings toward the Erdogan government, this could hit us, right?
Well, there's certainly, the release of this pastor and some others. It's not just the pastor. There's some others as well. That would be a good step in the right direction. Negotiations are going on. I understand that National Security Advisor John Bolton met with the Turkish ambassador here in Washington yesterday. You mentioned that the President and Pompeo are talking. So I think that the Turks have to take the first step here. But yeah, we certainly don't want Turkey to become an economic problem that could have global reverberations. But there are issues here, and I think a lot of talks and a lot of negotiations on a whole host of matters is important. Remember, this is a NATO ally of ours. We have bases in Turkey. I mean, we've been running operations against ISIS in Syria out of Turkey for quite some time. It's the second largest military in NATO after the United States. Very, very important country, strategically located between the U.S. and Europe. So negotiations and a lot of sit-downs and hoping to improve that relationship would be good. But you have two very strong personalities in Washington and in Ankara. So there are some challenges ahead.
There's some are saying that the hell with having a country like NATO or a leader like that in NATO, kick them out. What are you saying?
Well, no, I don't think that's not a good idea, I don't think, and I hope we can get these issues addressed because they are an important part. Look at their location geographically, Neil. Right. They're very, very important. I mean, they were part of the Cuban Missile Crisis because we had put missiles in there that were aimed at the Soviet Union.
Young man. You're dating yourself.
I read it in a history book. I read it in a history book, just like you did, in an e-book.
No, but I forgot about that. That's a very good point.
I read it in an e-book.
Yeah.
No, very important. You remember the financial plans that were meant to keep Turkey from moving in and becoming a communist state. There's been a lot of time and effort that has been put into that. So, yeah, there are troubles, and there are troubles in any relationship, and I think we have to work at patching those up because if you look at Turkey, it's a very, very important country to the United States, and I hope we can move past these issues.
Real quickly, I want to get your take on how the president, he and Erdogan had a very nice relationship. The president said he admired Erdogan's toughness, congratulated him on his re-election. Some say it made him virtually a dictator. I don't know what the true story is there, but it does show that this president, who has kind words, can turn on you as well, and maybe in this case rightfully so. But he also slapped sanctions on the Russian government in his push to watch their provocative ways. So I'm wondering the signals he's sending on this front.
Well, I think he's saying that we can get along, but he's also looking out for American interests. So he's happy to get along with these leaders, and they're both strong leaders, authoritarian, Putin and Erdogan in Turkey. But he's saying we can have a relationship, but I'm not going to allow you to eclipse American interests. And I think that's how the president is reacting, and his administration is as well.
Peter Brookes, way too young to remember what was done to avoid the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I read about it, Neil. I read about it in a history book, a very old, dusty history book.
You were very smart.